Hey guys, it's Charlene. I just got done recording my scary story time about our house being haunted, or I don't know, but there's weird stuff going on. But this is another scary story time. Scary story time. I can't even talk. But anyways, like in my last video, my family is awake. They're playing video games, playing music. So if you hear them, I'm sorry, but it's family time. What can I do? But anyways, I have so many stories. I don't even know which one to talk about. Okay, so I'll tell you a Skinwalker story. I mean, there's so many people that are like, Skinwalkers aren't real. You guys don't know what you're talking about. It's just fake. They're old scary stories. They're not old scary stories. A lot of people tell them to scare their kids so that they won't be outside at night or to keep them from doing bad things. But that is not the case when it's at your window at 3 in the morning. So, this story was like last year in October. Yeah, the beginning of October, because my boyfriend and I, we moved back up north with my grandparents to help them with some of the stuff that they need help with, and just to be with them for a while, because I missed home, because I'm from the northern part of Arizona, like the Navajo reservation area.
And my boyfriend's from Texas. He's from Baytown, Texas. So, and he's Mexican, so he's never been in such a small community before. And this was like the second or third time I took him home to my family. But we stayed with my grandparents for a while. And we were there for about a week. We took my little sister back with us too. She was 14 at the time, but we took her home with us for a while, and she wanted to spend time with my grandparents as well. But one night we were up late. We were watching movies in my grandparents' room. Yeah, we were up late in my grandparents' room, and their house, their room is in the back, facing like the back, and they live in a community, so it's like houses right next to each other. And if anybody knows what I'm talking about, they know what kind of houses they live in. But it's like a small neighborhood. It's probably like only 100 houses or less. Or maybe a little bit more. I'm not quite sure. But the front of the houses are pretty close. But the back of the houses are really spread out. Like they're really big backyards. And there's no fences. Nobody has gates or anything. It's just a wide open area. And people walk around at night. People do weird stuff in that area. So my grandparents would tell us not to go outside late at night. Yeah, my grandparents would tell us never to go outside at night. But yeah, this was like, I think about 2:30-ish. In my grandparents' house, like they have the center lights on the porch, the front and back, so like if somebody walks by, the lights come on. And that night, because where their bedroom's at, you can see the light come on. And that particular night, we kept seeing it go off and on, and we're like, is the dog outside still? And they said, no, they brought him in. And I was like, well, why is the light going off? So we looked out the window, and we didn't see nothing. It was dark. So whatever was out there walked off. And then maybe like 15, 20 minutes passed, and then the lights were going off again. And I was like, what is out there? So instead of looking out there this time, we just decided to turn off the TV and turn off all the lights and just sit there. But we had the window cracked just a little bit, just to see if we could hear or see anything out there. But I mean, I've told my boyfriend stories about Skinwalkers. I've told him about the things that we've seen, like camping stories, driving to the store late at night, and the things that we've seen. But this particular night, we were all laying in the bed. We were watching movies, and then my sister was like, I don't want to go to sleep. I don't want to go by myself. And I was like, just go in the other room and go to sleep. She didn't want to. So she stayed with us in the room, and like we started hearing weird stuff. We started hearing people talking. We started hearing like whistling. We started hearing like stuff move around. And in my grandparents' room, their blinds, not their blinds, but their curtains is really dark. Like the first layer, and then the second layer is like a lace. So like I pulled the darker shades back and left the ones with the lace just like a little bit open so we could see out there. And when we did that, like the light started going off and on again, the porch light, and we were like, what is out there? So I was like, okay. We're gonna be quiet, we're not gonna say nothing, we're not gonna do anything to be noticed, because if they see or hear us, they'll try to do something. So I told my boyfriend, I told my sister, just be quiet. Don't say nothing, don't get afraid, don't feel any kind of way, because they'll feel that. So they're like, okay. So we were laying there in the dark, and then we crawled towards the edge of the bed, and then we sat at the edge of the bed, And then we were looking out that little tiny opening that I left open. Like, we're just sitting there looking out that. And the house behind my grandparents' house, which is their backyard as well.
There's a big, I don't know if it was a dog or a coyote, but like, it was big. And anybody knows that coyotes are not like huge animals. So we were like, what is that? What is that doing there? And it was just sitting on their porch. It was just sitting there. And then I was looking around, looking like everywhere, and then all of a sudden it stands up. It literally stood up. It opened their screen door, checked their locks, closed the screen door, looked over into the laundry room window, and was like looking around in there. And then the little, they have like a camper shell thing, but the back opens right beside their back door, and it opened that, and it was like moving stuff around, trying to see if there's anything in there. And it closed it, it turned around, got back down on all fours like a dog, and took off onto the side of the house. And that was just one of them. There was 3 of them. The other one was standing beside their truck, and it was walking like a dog. And then as soon as it got towards where the dark, like the shadow was of the house from the street light, it stood up like a man, walked all the way around their truck, looked in all the doors, checking all the locks, putting its face against the window, looking in there, and then gets back down like a dog, runs around the front of the house, runs back on the side and back on towards the back. And then those 2 are sitting there. And then when we're looking, another one ends up on top of the roof. And we're like, what is going on? Where the fuck are they coming from? Like, why do we have to see this now? I mean, we just got here. But my sister and my wife were so freaked out. Like, they were like, what, how is that possible? How is that possible for any human to do? And I told them they do things to become this way. They do things in specific orders in order to do those things. And it's evil. It's really bad. I mean, a lot of people don't like talking about it. A lot of people don't like to mention it. But how else are you going to make people aware of what's out there unless you actually tell them, you know? And so many tourists, so many like non-native people come to the reservation wanting to see those things. That's something you don't want to see. And for my boyfriend to be non-native and live in almost like a city his whole life and then move to a small town, it was a really big change for him. And then for him to see those things with his own eyes, I mean, he tells his friends like they're real. Like, they talk about things like, oh, I would want to see like native skinwalkers or native storytelling. And it's we're not a scary story. Our culture, our meaning, everything, people think that it's just an old story in a book somewhere, something that you learn in social studies. It's not that at all. I mean, our stories are legit real. It's not something that you want to mess around with. It's not something that you want to look forward to. That's like a lot of mistakes like people make, is wanting to go out there and look for things that way. And you don't want to see things like that. You don't want to be messing around with things like that, because in order for you to get whatever spell or whatever things you have to go through when they put spells on you, it's a process. And especially for non-native people, it's really difficult to deal with. But seeing these things is the reason why I told them, don't feel afraid, don't put yourself out there to where they could read that we're watching. So as we were watching them, it's just like, it is an amazing thing to see a man do what like animal things can do. But it's scary because their magic comes from the darkness. Their magic is like they're pulling it from an unclean, dark place where a lot of people don't need to be or to go. But just seeing those things, it's a scary experience for anyone to see. But where my grandparents live, there's a lot of activity that happens in that area. I mean, there's like the Skinwalkers, There's black figures, black shadows, there's cloak figures. There's a lot of things that people see but they don't say nothing. But most of my family used to live in that area and they don't live there now, but most of their stories are similar to what we've seen. But that was just really scary, especially for my sister and my boyfriend. I mean, I've seen them in the past because I've like my camping stories, going camping, we came across those, like skinwalkers. Driving to the store, we've seen them. I mean, it's just not what you would expect. It's like, I'm going to the store and then you see something go over the ditch, like across the street and down the ditch, and then you're like, what the hell was that? And you look right and it's walking back that way, and it's like, how is that possible? Where did it come from? Because it's not something you want to deal with on a daily basis. But like I said, like, we're Christian believers. We don't really believe in traditional ways, but knowing of things, because we are Native American and growing up part of our lives on the reservation, we do understand the concept of what people do, and it's not always good. But yeah, that's probably one of the scariest things that my boyfriend encountered when he when he went to stay with me and my family. And it's just, I just don't want people to think that, like, oh, it's just something you could look through in a book or a picture. It gives you a weird feeling that it doesn't leave you for a while, and it's just so, it's not accepting, because in your mind you're like, this isn't possible, but in reality it's standing there in front of you. I mean, there's a lot of people that have seen a lot of creepy things in this world, but to see something that only Native American people talk about, and for somebody that doesn't really know what they are to see it, it's kind of unbelievable until you see it yourself. And that's the problem with people, is they want to go look for it, but that's not what you want to do. It's really not. But I'd rather have people know about them and understand the concept of what they are and what they do, than have people be afraid and wonder about it and then wander around trying to look for them. But yeah, I mean, I'm Native American. I've seen these things like almost my whole life. It's not really something I want to look forward to. But if you want to, if I decide to tell more scary stories or more Skinwalker scary stories, I can. But if you like this video, you want to hear more stories like this one, go ahead and like this video, comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks. Bye.